What's up, guys? Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm just going to be sitting in free play and I'm going to go over my entire journey from when I got Rocket League to when I became a professional Rocket League player. So I'll tell you about the things I did and what you can maybe do to also become a professional Rocket League player. Obviously, one thing that I'll say straight off the top before I even get into free play and start rambling on is to become a professional player in any game or become a professional in anything, it takes a load of time. So you're not going to get anywhere with little to no practice. You have to grind your ass off, and it takes a very long time and a lot of hard work. But these are the steps I took, and this was my personal journey to becoming a pro. All right, guys, I'll start off with why I actually got Rocket League. So back when the Rocket League beta was announced, I was playing FIFA 15 Pro Clubs all the time. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but if you don't, look it up. It's pretty fun. I used to play a striker in that and just try to go for all these like fancy skill moves and get some nice little passing plays going. I used to absolutely love playing FIFA 15 Pro Clubs. It was so much fun. And my Pro Club teammates recommended that we all get the Rocket League beta. So we got it, and I absolutely loved it. I was addicted to it from the start. I played it way more than they did. I actually stopped playing FIFA altogether just to play the beta. And then once the beta closed down, I waited for the official release, and I got it as soon as I could. And I just played the living shit out of Rocket League. I played it so much, it's actually like unhealthy how much I played it. I was going to high school at the time, and I was like not sleeping much at all. I was just like super addicted, and the worst part was I couldn't even play online, so I was just playing hours and hours and hours of free play. So pretty much when the game first came out, the online servers weren't even working, but that's besides the point. My internet didn't work at all for a good 2 months. Like, it was so bad. If I tried to play online, I would get like 500 ping and the ball would just be teleported the entire time. So I didn't even bother. I was just playing as much free play as I possibly could to try to get better at my car control, and that's literally all I did for 2 to 3 months. And then my internet finally got better, and then it was an on and off cycle where 1 month my internet would be good, next month it would be bad, next month it'd be good, next month it'd be bad, and then just repeat for the longest time. And anybody on PS4, like really close friends of mine, like Dapper, Justin, that I'd play with quite often, they would tell you the same thing. My internet was super unreliable, and if you ever try to talk to me on PS4 voice chat, my voice would just be lagging out the entire time. So yeah, that's pretty much my PS4 life. My internet was just bad the majority of the time, and I just tried to do whatever I could to get as much practice in as possible without playing online. So free play is a great tool for that. We didn't have training packs back then, so all we could do is free play. If I had to practice double touches, I would try to just roll up the wall like this and then just bang it and go for a double touch. I didn't have any training pack to try to keep replaying over and over again. The training packs we had are these ones, and they're not great. They're so bad. It actually feels so awkward to play them now as well because we have such good training packs. But yeah, this is the only kind of training pack we had back then. And when I was trying to practice like backwards aerials, I remember being so bad at these. But yeah, this was a training pack I always used to practice reverse aerials like that, because it was awkward getting the grasp of, you move left, your car goes right, you move right, your car goes left when you're upside down like that. But now it's like all muscle memory because you practice it so many times. Which moves on to my next point. You don't get good at anything in this game without practicing it a lot. So you're not just gonna look at a tutorial for some sort of mechanic and instantly do it your first try. You're gonna mess up a lot. Anybody who's good at this game, anybody who's good at anything mechanically in this game has messed up that mechanic thousands of times. I can promise you that, man. It's just trial and error. Keep repeating it, find better, more consistent ways to do things. But it all comes with time, so don't rush yourself. If you're struggling to learn something, everything takes time. All right, it's nothing to get down on yourself over. It's very difficult to get good at this game. You just have to spend a lot of time on the mechanics you want to learn. Anyway, let's continue on to the next part. All right, so that covers the first part of my journey on PS4, where my internet was just horrible for months on end, and it was just making it really difficult for me to play online. But then we get to the good part. I can finally play online, and I played 2s, I played 3s every now and then, but 1v1 was my main game mode. I played it all the time. I grinded it so hard, and I loved it, not gonna lie. It gave me an arena where all those mechanics that I practice in free play, I could put to use. I don't need a teammate. I could just, practice all the things I've been working on in free play. And I must say, I ranked up super quick. I got top 100 in season 1 super early on from all the practice that I had in free play, just being able to control my car pretty decently for the time. Actually ended up getting me to top 100 that early on in Rocket League. And there were SARP vets that were mostly covering up the top 100 leaderboard. So that was a super difficult thing for me to do, considering a lot of other players had way more experience in the previous game. But I grinded my ass off in free play. It definitely worked out. I feel like free play is a really good way to start out your Rocket League career, to be honest, because you don't have anybody messing with you. You have a ball, and you have unlimited possibilities. You can just keep practicing whatever you want to practice, and no one's there to get in your way. That's the beautiful thing about free play. You don't have to worry about someone coming in and challenging you. Then once you feel comfortable, you can get into an arena like 1v1 or 2v2 and try to put those things into your gameplay that you've been practicing. But anyway, like I said, we're playing a lot of 1v1s, and then we eventually get a chance to play against Lachinio. So Lachinio, I guess, hears about me somehow through a friend of his, and he agrees to 1v1 me, and then I beat him, and he was one of the best in the world at the time. And that was an insane accomplishment for me. I was super happy with myself for being able to do something like that, and it proved that I can maybe, be on par with some of these pros. Then I got onto PC early 2017, and all I did was just grind ranked, try to get to the top ranks. And then through there, while playing ranked at the highest level, I'd meet other players that are also really good, and then try to just play some ESLs with them. ESLs were just weekly tournaments at the time. And through those ESLs, you can make other connections if you beat other good players, and they'll recognize that you're good. This is all the way back when all the good teams played ESL, like every single top team. Like picture all the RLCS teams right now playing weekly ESLs. That's how it was back then. So it was super difficult to win these. And I got this title back then, and I was so happy. It was like the greatest feeling ever. I was like, okay, I can keep up with these players. This is back when ESL weekly tournaments were filled up by the best players in the world. So imagine every RLCS team, every current RLCS team playing a weekly Sunday ESL. That's how it was back then. And pretty much to get the ESL monthly elite title, you needed to play all 4 weeklies, acquire points throughout the weeklies by placing high, so placing top 4. And with those points, you make it into a top 8 bracket. And my team at the time was Torment and Nitro Drift. And we ended up making it to the semifinal, I believe. So we won our first series and we lost our second series. And we ended up getting this title. But that was my first ever tournament with Torment. I absolutely loved playing with him, though. He was super solid, and he was a really cool dude. So I wanted to team with him for a really long time. But he was on his team, Lucky Bounce, with Darkfire and Timothy at the time. So I couldn't team with him quite yet. I didn't really have the opportunity to. But I absolutely love playing this tournament. Even though we lost, it was a super fun tournament to play. And then later on, I think I've won like 6 or 7 of the monthly championships with Torment and Gimmick now, or Torment and Latch, the mixture of the two. But like I said, more top teams stopped playing it, so it became easier and easier to win over time. It's not the same as it used to be. And now it's not as difficult to get titles. Like it's even teams below RLRS that are like competing in it, trying to get titles. So if you guys really want to get one of these titles, you could definitely go for it. Like I said, if you're a Grand Champ level, find someone in that rank and, just try to become friends with them. Play some more games with them, and eventually sign up for ESLs. Try to build that chemistry together, and then you can go from there. If you improve together as a unit, it makes it much better in the long run because you learn tendencies and you learn how to play around the other person. So yeah, that's the story of my first really big esports thing that I did for Rocket League. It's not really that big. It was like a $50 tournament or some shit, but it was my first like esports tourney of Rocket League. All right, so this is when it gets good. I finally got the title that I wanted, and it wasn't anything crazy. It was just, I wanted some sort of title that proves that, I could somewhat compete at the top level. And I guess over time, I kept playing more and more tournaments. I beat some pretty good teams back then. And, I was able to somewhat prove myself as a player, playing with different players here and there. And then that brings us to RLCS Season 2. So RLCS Season 1, I didn't play at all, really. I tried to do the qualifier with Dapper and Skies, but we only played the first day and didn't play the second day. We won the first day, but we didn't play the second day qualifiers for whatever reason. I don't remember why. So I didn't actually compete in RLCS Season 1, but Season 2 was my chance to get a team. This is when I had an opportunity. So I guess enough players realized that I'm decent, that there are actually two teams in RLCS that maybe wanted to try me out. So we'll go back to that in a second, but Torment's team at the time was Darkfire and Timothy. Darkfire was an insane player, man. I loved watching Darkfire back then. He would just bang every opportunity he got. Like, he was super fun to watch. Insanely well positioned all the time. And just, I don't know, he always seemed like he was in the right spot to make the next play. Especially for that early in the Rocket League, he was like super good really early. So yeah, I would always watch them play. Torment was a friend of mine ever since that ESL tourney. So I always watched him play. I always like rooted for him. I always wanted to do well. And I love watching Torment. Torment looked like a super fun guy to play with. He was super solid, and I really wanted to team with him at some point. And then RLCS Season 2 comes around. This is when it gets spicy. So Genesis at a time, which was Pluto, Espeon, and I think Quinn Lobdell, they made Season 1 land, and they actually wanted to try me out. So I got a tryout with them. And I also got a tryout from Torment and Darkfire in Timothy's spot. Torment and Darkfire really wanted me, but Espeon and Pluto were still considering me as well. We did pretty well when we did some scrims together back then as a tryout. So I had a choice to make. It was either Torment and Darkfire or Espeon and Pluto. And Classics was also in the picture. It was between me and Classics for both of those teams. And I think Torment and Darkfire wanted to play with me. And I prefer Torment and Darkfire anyway, just because I really wanted to play with Torment, as I mentioned earlier. And Darkfire was insane. Like, I was super stoked to even have the opportunity to maybe play with them. I was super excited because I was finally going to join, you know, my dream team, so to speak, at the time. And I thought we had a really high potential. We even played a Rocket Royale, which was like one of the biggest tournaments you could play at the time. That wasn't RLCS. And we made it to the finals of that. We beat Energy, Kings of Urban, who they were insane back then. But I think they had Rizzo in replace of, I don't remember who. I think it was in replace of Sad. I don't exactly remember. So I think it was Fireburner, Jacob, and Rizzo. I'm pretty sure that we played against. We beat them. And then we beat another good team. After that, I don't remember if it was iBuyPower or somebody else. I'm not 100% sure. And then we lost Game 7 to Genesis, which is the other team that I was trying out for. Genesis with Classics. We lost Game 7 there. And yeah, that was that was my first ever big tourney against the best players in the world. And I did very well, like, to my standards. I was super happy with how I played because I was really nervous going into it. And I thought I wouldn't do well. But Torment and Darkfire were really easy to play with. Torment, like, was super calming to me. Like, he took my nerves away in a way. Like, he was really easy to play with, in my opinion. So I really wanted to keep playing with him. And then, you know, something came up in the next couple weeks. I was about to sign up for RLC Season 2 with them. It was going to be all good. And then something happened. I'm not going to talk about it. It's a little bit personal. So I'm just going to say that I ended up subbing for G2. But it wasn't the team's decision. It wasn't my decision. It was just I couldn't play. So I ended up subbing for G2 instead. That would have been my first season of RLCS Season 2 with Torment and Darkfire. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But I didn't let it bother me. I kept grinding my ass off. And I wasn't too upset about it. I subbed for the, you know, the most recent world champions. They won in Season 1. So being able to sub for the best team in the world was, you know, a pretty nice thing as well. I wasn't too upset about it. But yeah, having that chance to play in RLCS in Season 2 would have been really nice. But, you know, I can't look back on it now and be upset about it. It's whatever. But like I said, everything happens for a reason. You know, it's not too big of a deal in the end because you guys are about to hear that it actually kind of paid off for me. So throughout Season 2, they weren't doing so great. And by they, I mean G2, which was Overzero, Latch, and Crow, who had just won the previous RLCS, like I said. And Latch, about halfway through the season, already asked me if I wanted to team with him. And I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this. I think I've already mentioned it in the past, but I'll just say it anyway. We had TSM lined up as an org, which was pretty crazy. It was me, Dapper, and Latch at the time. It was going to be me, Dapper, and Latch. And that was going to be the team. We played a tournament or two. We won both tournaments, but I think everyone on the team agreed that we didn't mesh as well as we'd like to, just because we were all ones players. We all played almost exactly the same at the time because we were all like super ones based. I wasn't a very good threes player yet. I'll admit it. I wasn't. I really didn't have a good grasp of 3v3, and that's a problem with a lot of players who just play nothing but 1v1 like I did back then. So yeah, it was gonna be me, Dapper, and Lachino, but it was just the play styles weren't there. I kept telling Lash that I really want tournament, and we played some tournaments together, and it felt so right. Like, it felt so perfect. Because tournament would just hold it down in the back, and me and Lash can just spaz out, do whatever we want in the front, and just play like really stupid players. But you know, it'd work out, and it would cause teams to be confused, and they might not be able to deal with like just the pace and the weird things that we're doing. So we stuck with that play style, and it worked for quite a while. And then of course Lash had to announce that he was leaving G2, and that caused a little bit of a stink because you know, they won RLCS like a season before that. But eventually people, you know, understood why he did it, because we were winning like so many things back to back, and we were winning against all these really good teams, and we were beating teams like Energy and G2 like pretty consistently. So everyone saw that we're pretty good back then, and they realized why he made the move that he did. And you know, me, Torment, and Latch turned out to be a really good team. We got #1 in the power rankings for a couple weeks back to back, and you know, everything just seemed like it was going really well. Everything was working out perfectly in the end. And it seemed like not being able to play in Season 2 was all meant to happen, because we got Latch, who was insane, and Torment, who was someone I always wanted to play with. So it was like almost ended up working out in the end. Torment ended up leaving his team because, I mean, they didn't have the greatest Season 2. And on top of that, I think he thought that the team with me and Latch would maybe have more potential. And then, of course, TSM, the org, was there, so that's another reason for him to leave, because there was an opportunity to get on TSM. So we'll go back to the TSM thing in a sec. I guess I can talk about it now because it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so we had the opportunity with TSM, and pretty much the deal with that was if we qualified for RLCS Season 3, we'd get TSM. Simple as that. I mean, we showed the results, but we just needed to make it into the big leagues at the time. And yeah, so that was the situation back then. And then came RLCS Season 3 qualifiers. Before the tournament, we were winning a lot of tournaments, like different tournaments here and there against all the good teams, all top 8 teams. We were still playing really well. And then come the qualifier, we just didn't play the same way. It was weird. Like, we didn't play like ourselves. I guess it was the nerves, and also knowing that we have TSM on the line and this opportunity to play in RLCS, and we know we can do really well in RLCS if we make it. So it was a lot of pressure, a lot of nerves on the line. That was the first time I personally had ever felt that. Latch, he had already been at RLCS World Championships. He already won RLCS, so he knows what those nerves feel like. He could, you know, try to calm himself down in a way. He has a little bit more experience than I did at the time. And Torment, he also had played a qualifier similar to, you know, league play qualifiers, but it was for LAN, and you know, they didn't make it. So it's hard playing those qualifiers, man. The nerves that are on you, the pressure that's on you, it's insanely high. And especially when it's something like RLCS qualifiers where you don't make it, you're out for so many months, and it's just so rough, man. You're out for that many months because you just have one bad day. It's a really shitty feeling. Trust me, I never want to go through that again. But I mean, I can't complain about how everything turned out. Of course, you guys know that all now, but let me just continue on in the story. So we didn't play the same way we always did. We ended up losing to Set to Destroy, which we probably should have beat them, because I don't think we ever lost them before that. And, you know, they were below the top 8 teams. Their seed was lower than it should have been, though. Like, their seed should have been a lot higher. That kind of screwed us over, because we would have played a team that's a little bit worse than them. But it doesn't really make an excuse there. Like, we should have beat them still. We just weren't, like, playing like ourselves. And then in lower bracket, we played Selfless, who was, like, a really good team. And they shouldn't even have been in the lower bracket, I don't think. So that was a kind of shitty feeling as well, because we shouldn't even have been playing them. So we played Dapper, Miho, and Timmy back then, which was an insane team, and they ended up making LAN that season. So it goes to show that we really shouldn't have been playing them as early as we were. But yeah, we got knocked out because we just didn't play as good as we normally did. As simple as that. Sometimes you have those days you're just off, you know. And unfortunately, it was a qualifier day, one of the most important of our career back then. So I was super down on myself, man. I didn't even want to play Rocket League for a bit, to be honest. I was like feeling like it was my fault, but I got over that pretty quick, and I just really wanted it. I really wanted to make RLCS like super bad. Latch took a pretty hard break, and he wasn't really feeling Rocket League for a bit, so we all made the decision to try to get another player. So we looked at different options, and it was between JNaps, Dapper, and Gimmick. So he wanted to get JNaps back then, but there was issues with his contract. That was his first season on G2 as well. So he wanted to join us back then, but he couldn't. And we ended up just giving up on that pretty much because of the contract issues. And then the next option was Gimmick or Dapper. And this was after season 3. We ended up playing the Mock-It Championship Series, which was like a really shitty tournament with Gimmick. It was me, Gimmick, and tournament for that. And we actually won 17-0. Like, we didn't lose a single series. That's pretty much the RLRS of the time. There was no RLRS. That was the RLRS. Every team that wasn't RLCS was in there. And we ended up winning that 17-0 in series. Like, we didn't lose a single series. Won every single series back to back with Gimmick. It felt really nice. And, you know, Gimmick was a friend of mine for a year before that. I met him really early when I got on PC in a ranked game. Like I mentioned, you find a lot of players in ranked games, man. So I met him in a ranked game, and, you know, I just added him on Steam. And then I played some games with him. He didn't talk much. He seemed like a really shy dude, but, like, he was really good at the game. And then eventually he started, like, you know, talking more, and it was really fun to hang out with him and shit. So it made a good environment in team comms because we always just had fun with it. And, you know, we're always, like, just being ourselves, having fun and stuff. And that made the MCS tournament a lot more fun as well. Because we get on every time, have some fun, and then we ended up winning, which was even better. So that was a lot of good practice with Gimmick. And then after that, we were still trying to work out if we can get JNaps. Because JNaps, like, Gimmick was an insane player, but JNaps was just really good. He was one of the best in North America at the time. So, like, we really wanted to get him. See if we can, like, form a team that would be super solid. But even then, our backup was Gimmick. And pretty much after RLC Season 3, there was like a big mess trying to figure out who was going to go where. Gimmick even made his own team because he thought we were going to join with Dapper. His team was Timmy and Moses. And they didn't do too great. And I really wanted to play with Gimmick instead of Dapper. I feel like me and Gimmick had a better connection than me and Dapper did. Like, even when we were playing me, Dapper, and Latch, it was the same kind of situation where like, we're all too similar, and Dapper is really similar to Latch, and if we were replacing Latch with Dapper, it was almost like replacing the same player for the same player. That was how I looked at it at the time. So I really wanted to play with Gimmick, and he was a good friend of mine, so I just like really wanted to see if we can make it work out with Gimmick. So I messaged him on Steam. I was like, yo, come to DreamHack with us. Let's play the LAN together. We don't have a third, and we already know we could play well together, so let's try to play DreamHack together. So we played it. And I mean, we won, so everybody knows that story. We ended up doing really well. We made it to the final bracket. We beat Energy 4-0, I believe, and they just won X Games. So they beat all the best teams in the world like a week before that. We 4-0'd them, and then we played G2. I believe it was 4-2. We beat them, and then we played Gale Force in the final, and we won 4-3 to win it all. And Gale Force went on to beat Dignitas and win 2 RLCSs in a row. So that's pretty crazy storyline. All started over there in DreamHack Atlanta, and then shortly after that, I was already talking to Cloud9 before DreamHack Atlanta. We were already trying to figure something out, but they were only going to pick us up if we got JNaps. Pretty much, that was how that situation would have worked. I think like they were only considering it if we got JNaps, because they didn't really know of Gimmick or, you know, what he's capable of. And then we won DreamHack Atlanta, and I guess it showed them that we're good enough to compete with the best. So and then we got signed by Cloud9 a week or two later. And move forward a little bit more. You guys know the rest of the story pretty much. Play a bunch of tournaments. RLCS Season 4, we qualified. We got first league play. We won regional championships as well going in. A lot of people thought we were going to win it because, like, we're just really dominant at the time. I guess our play style was just hard to deal with because people didn't really expect passes as much as they do now. And so yeah, going to LAN, a lot of people thought we were going to win. And yeah, we got third, we lost to Method, and then in the next RLCS Season 5, we got fourth. We lost to Dignitas in the lower bracket, and then they went up to upper bracket, and they ended up beating NRG 2 series in a row to win it all. And then Season 6, as you guys all know, we finally got what we've always wanted. with the squad, exact same squad for 2 years. Me, Gimmick, and Torment ended up taking the championship against Dignitas 2 series in a row, 4-1 both times, and that leads us to where we are now. That was my journey to becoming a pro player. Everybody's journey is going to be a little bit different. There is no right way to do it. There is no wrong way to do it, as long as you get there. So don't force it on yourselves, guys. If you're trying to go pro, try to get to the highest level first. Try to play consistently at the highest level, and then once you're there in ranked, try to find a player that really catches your eye. Maybe add them on Steam, hit them up, ask them to play a few games with you, and try to see if you guys work well together, and go from there. And then if you do, try to find a third, go from there, and then just play some tournaments. And then if you can beat some good teams, you know that you guys are good. Just try to beat as many pro teams as you can, and then those pro teams are going to recognize you, and maybe you can get picked up onto an even better team and go from there. So a lot of different ways you can do, guys, but moral of the story is put a lot of time in, try to play at the highest level in ranked consistently, and go from there. No matter if you start in 1v1, 2v2, or 3v3. But if you start in 1v1, make sure you get your 3v3 sorted out, because nowadays in the highest level 3s, you really need to be able to play rotationally well and around your teammates well. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something about me and my history as a pro Rocket League player and how I got here. If you guys have any ideas for a video in the future, let me know, and I'd be down to get to that. Like I said, guys, have yourself a wonderful day or night whenever you're watching this. Like, comment, subscribe, and if you guys want to go pro, hey, I believe in each and every one of you guys. Put the time in, grind your heart out. I believe in you guys. Love y'all. Peace.